All right, hear ye, hear ye, hear ye. I hereby convene the Gun Cranks. Yes, we're back after what seems like weeks, but I don't think it's been that long. But here we are again, and we've got a full cast of characters today. Of course, I'm Guns Magazine editor Brent Weed, along with Tom McHale, the editor of American Handgunner. We've got Eric Gilhouse, the editor of American Cop, and Ashley, the lovely Ashley McGee, the Rose Amongst the Thorns, the FMG digital editor, and we're all here today. So, hey kids, school's in session. I throw these softballs out. Nobody says a word.
Nope.
Oh,
Not
well.
taking the bait.
Okay, that's fine. Well, I really think we need to have a Patreon channel so we could hit record when we first get on here, and then we could sell that stuff because some of these conversations are really interesting. But anyway, we're going to move forward.
Can you get kicked off of Patreon?
I think
Would that be a risk?
Yeah.
Yeah. I know people have been kicked off of Patreon.
So, and I
Oddly
forgot
enough for the same stuff we're going to talk to them about today.
Yeah. And I forgot to introduce one of the most important members of the Gun Cranks, the Screaming Baboon. Well,
did we name him? I can't remember if we ever decided on a name. So maybe leave your comments, leave your suggestions in the comments, and we'll name him. Yeah.
There's an idea.
Can I throw one in to start the bidding?
Start it.
Zuck.
Oh.
I was going to go with Bob, short for Robert, because there's a story there, but.
Okay. Well, cool. Well, what we're going to talk about, Ashley actually came up with this, and we were having fun with it. If you've been paying attention to the news, one of the problems we have in the gun industry, and it's not just us, it's everybody, is if you say or do the wrong thing on Facebook, and by extension, the other platforms that they own, you will end up in Facebook jail. And we've all ended up there at different times. And typically it involves something like showing a gun. A constitutionally protected activity. Well, the funny thing is now that
no.
Go ahead.
Read the Constitution. It's only for the National Guard and should be highly regulated. It says so right there.
So if you're a National Guard podcast, you're fine.
Subject to high regulation.
Yeah, exactly.
Well-regulated militia.
On Facebook. Yeah. So anyway, the funny thing that happened now that Donald Trump is going to become our president in a few short days, Mark Zuckerberg, who owns Facebook and other stuff, suddenly, hey, Don, remember me? Kind of like the guy from high school, hey, you remember me? I always wanted to date you, but, I just never did. He is kissing the ring at Mar-a-Lago. So I think that's quite funny. So
you know what he reminds me of with all this? It just came to me. The people that bang on your door the day after you win the lottery.
Yeah.
That's kind of what's happening, right?
Wow.
Him and who's the Amazon Bezos?
Yeah.
It's like they're banging on the door who just won the lottery. So
I think they were at one of the first dinners at Mar-a-Lago after the election results came in.
Yeah.
They didn't waste any time.
Nope.
So I guess
our men to the core.
Yep, exactly. What are progressive ideals? Well, no. Bottom line's more important there. So anyway, that's going to be kind of our quick topic of discussion. Is the online world going to suddenly become a little more friendly to the Second Amendment? And I think Zuckerberg's already answered that question by having dinner at Mar-a-Lago. But Ashley, since you kind of brought this up and thought it'd be fun to get together and talk about, what's your position on all this? And is the whole online world going to be shifting soon?
I hope so. It would sure make my job a whole lot easier because I think sometime last year I pretty much gave up soon after SHOT Show on posting from the brand Instagram accounts because almost every single thing was getting taken down. Meta did this fun little thing. The Meta, the parent company of Facebook, Instagram, WhatsApp, Messenger, that whole host of
Threads
apps. Yeah, Oh gosh, can't forget Threads because everyone's on that. they came up with this whole new set of guidelines called community guidelines or content recommendation guidelines. So basically, they decided, okay, well, you're a publisher, you're not actually selling firearms. Technically, what you're posting doesn't violate our content guidelines, but it does violate this new set of guidelines for content recommendation. So you can post it, but we're not going to recommend your post to anyone that doesn't already follow you, which is really great when you're in the business of trying to grow your audience and grow subscribers and things like that. So basically, we're just posting for no reason because, like 10 people might see it, which is great. Not to mention the shadow banning and all of that. It was a lot of effort for zero return because it just kept getting worse and worse and worse.
Let's be real clear on this, Ashley, because you shared this with us quite some time ago. Like the whole shadow banning thing, you say, "Oh yeah, I'm shadow banned all the time," and people go, "Oh yeah, right. You can't prove it." Blah blah blah. This is not a theory. This is a public. We get notices on our account that says this will not be shared. Period.
Yep. I say, and I gave up to the point where strikes. I think if we gotten one more in that month, our accounts would have been shut down completely. So I was like, okay, well, let's not do that. Yeah, I was like, well, I just won't post anything again for right now. Can just sit there and maybe things will turn around one day. And maybe that one day is now. And the shadow banning thing is interesting because even with our own brands, if I'm on the American Handgunner Instagram account and I want to look at the guns page, I have to type in the full account name, letter for letter, before the profile would pop up. So you can't just type in American Cop or Guns Magazine to search it. It's not going to give you the profile. You have to type in the handle to the T before it will show it to you. Even though all of our accounts all follow one another, it should pop right up. That is not the case. And that's kind of one of the elements of shadow banning and kind of down rating your profile to help less people see it.
Yep. It's real.
It is. And, that's it. It may seem like a little inside baseball stuff. And well, I'm sure it matters to you guys in the business, but really, does that affect all of us? It absolutely does. It is absolutely that online speech is the number one way people communicate now. And Facebook is, I think, still number one social media, how people share ideas. And if they're quietly making sure your ideas don't get shared, whether it's you, the viewer, or us, a big magazine. Basically what that's doing is killing the ability to exercise our Second Amendment. So this is one of those things that it might seem a little techno nerdy, I suppose, but it really matters a lot. So Eric, your thoughts on this whole process from the American Cop side?
So we've experienced the shadow banning like everybody else has. And when Ashley's talking about having to type the full thing in to find us, yeah, it's absolutely there. What has been fascinating was we had a post go about I think probably the most viral post we've had from American Cop last week since I've had anything to do with it and stood up the Instagram page a 3 years ago. Now, granted, we tagged Aimpoint and Glock in that post. So we got their viewers, their followers involved in it, but that's the most reach we've had on anything. And that came up after Zuckerberg had made, changed the position on it.
Eric, I'm sure it was completely a coincidence, right?
Oh, absolutely. Totally. Yeah. Because I have friends in the business, folks over at American Fighting Revolver, who Patreon deplatformed them, took all the money they had banked there, just took the money and kicked them off the platform early last year over perceived issues. And all they're doing is keeping the revolver culture alive.
Wow. So. Awful stuff. Well, hopefully, and what was really funny when we were having, our meetings and talking about this, can you imagine the conversation, how that went? Tom, you were talking about it. It's like, hi, Mr. Trump, remember me? Yeah. Yeah. Wouldn't you like to have been a fly on that wall?
It's fascinating. I mean, I'm so skeptical because there is not a company on planet Earth that I trust less than Meta/Facebook. Not one. Google's a close
Well, and I
second.
think the
But
interesting thing is what a stark and obvious about face this was.
Mhm.
Like you're
Yeah.
not fooling anyone.
Right.
And, he's leaning real hard into criticizing the left and the Democrats, which is like, okay, but where have you been?
Right.
Like, where have you been through all of this? What were you doing before? But now you want to speak out
Right. Was
about
getting,
these things?
the administration was pressuring us. And
Yes.
Yeah.
well, guess
I
what?
say,
The
and for
administration pressured Elon
anyone,
Musk too, and he kind of pushed back.
Yep.
Hard.
I
That's
say,
an
and for
option.
anyone who's not as much of a nerd as me, Facebook on its foundation, there were two other folks when Zuckerberg was in college that were involved in it, in starting this company, and he basically stole it right out from under them. So, and ran with it. And now he's the figurehead and the sole owner. But he was not. It was not only his idea when it was first created, and he just kind of,
But
shut
it
the other
wasn't
guys
his
out.
idea at all. Didn't he steal the
I,
whole
I,
thing from somebody
yeah,
else?
he basically stole the whole thing. It was twins
From
that
the
he went to
debutante
college with.
twins.
Yeah, yeah.
Are you saying he's a less than honorable business person? What?
Now we're gonna get deplatformed.
Probably.
No loss.
Oh
Yeah.
man.
It's
So yeah,
no
so
loss.
so now the change is what we left the biggest part of this out is that allegedly they've done away with fact checking. They've gotten rid of all the third party fact checkers. They have taken a page from Elon Musk's book and they're doing I think they're calling it community notes. So if you disagree with something, you don't think it's accurate, you leave a comment saying, okay, well, that's just not true, yada, yada, yada. If it gets enough votes, I'm assuming that's how it works, or enough people agree with that stance, then they will include a community note that's visible to anyone else who's viewing it. So
I love that
interesting.
concept.
And
Yeah.
yeah,
I followed it quite a bit on X/Twitter, and it works. And the reason it works is because it has to be absolutely rock solid factual with a citation.
Yeah.
And you don't get these rambling arguments and theories in community notes. You get, here's the fact, 6 words or 10 words, and here's the citation. It's a good model.
Yeah.
I say,
We'll
and then
see
a
if
couple of days after the announcement, he went on the Joe Rogan podcast. It's a 3-hour episode for anyone who doesn't have anything better to do with their life. But the beginning talked about all the social media stuff, doing away with the content moderation. And the way that he explained it, I thought was pretty interesting, but basically he talked about qualifiers, and you have to decide, you have to strike this balance when you're talking about 3.2 billion people who use one or more of their apps every single day, and probably half the world's population that use it at least once a month. The scale of that to execute, content moderation of any kind is just wild to think about.
Yeah.
He said the balance of trying to decide, okay, this content is problematic. Like say someone's trying to, I think he said selling drugs was the example. Of course, we don't want people using Facebook to sell drugs, but do we want to have 99% confidence rate before we say, okay, this post needs to come down? Or do we scale that back and say 80% confidence rate is good enough? That we think this is problematic. We're 80% sure this can come down. So what happens, the more accurate your qualifier is, the fewer people are going to get violations, but you're not going to catch as many.
Right.
And so you have to decide, would you rather, or is it better to cast a wider net? And then you have more people, getting flagged and all of that. So apparently they're trying to find that balance. It'll probably be different across the categories. We'll see what happens with firearms.
Well, and that's the takeaway here, that hopefully things will get a little bit better for us, us being the shooting community, and hopefully things will turn out for the best when they try to figure that out. So that was kind of our topic at the moment, but it's the first of the year. There's lots of stuff going on. And guys, I think we ought to do a quick summary of some of that. Of course, the SHOT Show is coming up next week. That show we all love to hate. I don't know if it holds a unique place in the industry because anything else in construction, or Ashley used to work for a forklift company or something. Do are people not directly impacted by the industry? Do they follow the trade shows that much? I think in the firearms world, it's pretty unique that virtually everybody that shoots on a regular basis knows exactly what the SHOT Show is and probably has gone to the SHOT Show, or at least thought about going to the SHOT Show. So I think it holds a unique position, but it's next week. I just did a radio interview today, and I was saying, it's the Super Bowl, the Grand Prix, the Indy 500, and 4th of July all rolled into one, and sometimes it seems like that. So we've got, of course, I always say we've got it covered top to bottom, side to side. Tom, why don't you talk about how you approach the SHOT Show and what you've got planned for this year?
35 seconds is how I approach the SHOT Show. And let me explain what that means. That means there are 2,700 exhibitors. That is a lot of companies and products, almost 3,000. So another real number, you put them on the exhibit floor, and it's 13.9 miles of hallway to go by those 2,700 exhibitors. We got 3.5 days to do it. So you get 35 seconds per booth with no breaks, no lunch, no nothing. You go nonstop. Those are real numbers. I mean,
yeah.
I always struggle to communicate the scale of SHOT Show. So we go, and I always arrive stressed out because we got X number of scheduled meetings. So that means we got about 6 hours to cover 3,000 booths at the SHOT Show over the whole week. And
I say, and other than Jade on the
chart.
shooting industry side, this is the editorial team. There are 5 of us.
Yeah.
5 of us across 4 different publications, properties that are, trying to cover that amount of ground in a few days.
Plus, we're the sponsor for the Law Enforcement Education Program, LEAP. Eric, talk a little bit about that, because that's really quite an honor for us here at Little Old FMG Publications.
So this is the second year we're going to be hosting LEAP. Like Brent said, it's Law Enforcement Education Program. It's kind of like SHOT Show University. It's just for the law enforcement side. We're covering stuff on training trends, targeting, range design, red dot optics and how you bring them into a program, human factors, what the human body and brain can and can't do under stress, under duress, and real life events. This is for cops. It's for administrators. While they're there at SHOT to look at gear and equipment, this is the thinking side of things, the developing program side of things. So we have the first event Monday evening, and we run until Thursday is the last day that we're involved in doing stuff with that.
So are you telling me that people in the gun industry and the law enforcement side of things, the military, that we actually think? We go to these things to learn?
So, I'm sure there's folks who are like, oh, just gun, go bang, right? I think that's what it is. And it's not. There's a lot of thinking going into it. There is a lot of professionalism on the training side. This is just trying to expand and give folks different insights and views. I'm going to be talking about training trends and kind of what I saw during my career that we did and where we need to be thinking about having training programs now, both defensive tactics for arrest and control, distilled down to putting your hands on people, and the firearm side of it, right? And it's not just throw a punch, press the trigger. There's a whole lot of other things that go into those that we're going to talk about.
So Ashley, talk about how folks can find our coverage of this great SHOT Show.
Most of our coverage will be on our YouTube channel, which is possibly where you're watching this video now, but make sure you subscribe. We're going to post lots of shorts throughout the week, as well as interviews from our booth on Media Row with some folks in the industry that we don't always get to connect with in person. So subscribe there. And, now that maybe some of the restrictions are lifted, we'll try our hand at posting some things on Facebook and Instagram and see how they go. During the Joe Rogan interview, I did learn that Zuckerberg apparently hunts and likes to use a rifle. He actually also has a compound bow. So maybe things will perform a little bit better. So allegedly, he's got a ranch in Hawaii. and they're in an area where there's a lot of pigs, and then there's also some protected wildlife where they have to control the pig population. And he hunts. He's also recently taken up jujitsu and is dabbling in learning some mixed martial arts stuff, which explains the Dana White seat on Meta's board in recent weeks.
Yeah, he's been doing the BJJ for a while. I want to say at least a year, probably more like 18 months.
Yeah.
You know, something tells me he's an avid hunter, just like the governor of Minnesota when he was running for. If you haven't seen that video,
Where do I get me a hunting license, right?
yeah, that's
Well,
that's
my
a thing.
favorite part is they started to talk about archery, and Joe Rogan asked him, "What kind of bow do you use?" And he's like, well, it's, and that, so then he just had no idea. And Joe Rogan straight up called him out, like you can't be in the archery game and not even know the manufacturer of the bow that you're using. So,
wow.
Yeah.
Well,
since
to
we're on
close,
Zuck for a second, one thing that was very interesting about the whole Zuck thing is the moving of the content moderation team out of California and moving it to Texas. Now, whether they're taking the people and shipping them to Texas, their stated position was they were doing this because of a belief that nobody trusted anyone in California to consider the constitutional rights and free speech issues. That alone is fascinating.
yeah, yep, exactly.
Well, and I think his exact words were something along the lines of they wanted to reduce the appearance of bias. Yeah. Not address the actual bias, but just reduce the appearance
just so
of
it's
it.
not as obvious,
Yeah.
right?
Yep.
Yeah.
I'm not holding my breath.
Yeah.
I'm not
Exactly.
going to invest
So
any
find us
time
on
in any of
YouTube.
those until we see results.
I say we still get flagged sometimes on YouTube and have some, struggles over there too, because it's still a tech platform, but we're doing okay over there. We had nearly 10 million views thanks to all of you watching in 2024, which was just bananas. But follow along. We'll take you on throughout the 13.9 miles of exhibit space at SHOT Show.
Well, you did a perfect segue because that's what I was going to go into next. But before we roll out of the SHOT Show, I also want to tease there may be kind of a big honor coming our way. So can't say any more than that, but stay tuned because it'll be pretty cool, I think. So
you're not going to be walking down the hall singing, "Here comes the judge, here comes the judge."
Yeah, and I'm bringing the baboon with me.
Okay.
So
No,
I thought it was really big, and you'll probably hear more about this later on, but almost 10 million views. We're up, what is it, Ashley? 160 some percent. People are really catching on to our YouTube channel, and with programs like the Gun Cranks, and of course, Tom's really starting to hit it hard with the American Handgunner Insider. We've got the Guns Magazine podcast. Roy Huntington's kind of our breakout star with all of his shorts. He's America's favorite granddad, as I think one of the commenters
Tactical granddad.
Yeah.
I say, and next week we're hoping to show off some other faces that you guys don't always get to see. You get to see their words on paper or on the screen, but you don't often get to see them on video. But Will Dabbs has agreed to do some videos for us while we're at SHOT Show next week. And then there's some of the other characters that'll be there. We'll see who we can get.
What was it Mad Magazine said? The usual gang of idiots. Well, that's us. I'm lead idiot on that one. I'll take that. But so lots of good stuff going on, and we need to do a time lapse because on Tuesday morning you're pretty excited, and by Friday afternoon, I think I've mentioned before, I'm glad that one episode ended up getting cut because of technical issues, because we learned don't let Eric go to the complimentary happy hour before we tape an episode, because it was entertaining, but I'm sure our corporate overlords would have pulled the entire account at that point.
I will just say, had you not encouraged me,
I said, come out of your shell, be a little more open, and well, you took that and ran with it.
Yes, I did.
And speaking of technical issues, with that many people in that size of a venue, sometimes, the internet service does not work in our favor. So if the sound quality isn't great, the streaming quality is subpar, apologies in advance. There's only so much we can do. We do the
Yeah.
best we can.
We do the best we can. So, oh, and one other big announcement, Ashley has a second stalker now on YouTube. So good to know that. So she'll be doing some hand modeling at SHOT Show. So if you want to get all stalky, you might find her on the floor. So
Gonna hit all the
And
glove
when you leave
vendors
when
there.
you leave your when you leave your name suggestions for the baboon, leave some pen name suggestions for me too, because I'm rethinking, using my name here. I think it's time to change it.
it's all fun and games till you get stalkery, right? Wow. I still say the hand thing was so. Ashley, we've never seen your bare feet, so you're willing to take one for the team because I know I've been invited to one event with boots for hunting. So maybe if you go with me and we could get some video of you trying on a boot slowly and semi-seductively. In fact, we'll do it slow motion, just kind of sliding your foot in. And I'm sure that
I don't know. I think Eric's got better legs than I do.
Now I know who the stalker is, Brett, because that was way too rehearsed.
That's it. I've got a second account. Hi, Ashley.
That was polished.
I watch everything you do all the time.
Hey, my bunions and hairy feet, absolutely. If you want to break out the video and let me try on a pair of shoes, we can do that. In fact, I think we'll go to Garment Tactical and do that.
Wow. I know there would be a doctor out there going, I haven't seen that since boot camp. So, wow. Okay. Well, we've devolved into Eric's bunions. So I guess that means we're done here on the Gun Cranks. So appreciate you joining us. Make sure you check out next week at the SHOT Show. We'll have all kinds of fun stuff. And in the meantime, check out AmericanHandgunner.com, American Handgunner Magazine at AmericanHandgunner.com, AmericanCop.com. I about had a brain fade there. As we often say, it is for good, decent Americans and not just our law enforcement friends. And of course, YouTube and, fmgpubs.com. That's how you can support what we're doing. Aside from liking and hitting the bell and leaving a comment, go to fmgpubs.com. You can pick up Roy's new book, The Insider. You can pick up John Connor's Odd Angry Shot. You can get subscriptions to all of our great magazines and all kinds of toys and surprises, as they used to say. So did I miss anything or got any final things to say, guys, before we go?
Well, I look forward to seeing anybody we meet next week.
Yep.
Mr. Barefoot.
Stop by and say hi if you're going to be there.
Yep.
Yeah.
We'll be
Absolutely.
on Radio Row. Main
Radio
level.
Row. We need Don Pardo. This is the Gun Cranks. So I don't know. Anyway, well, like I said, on behalf of Ashley McGee, our digital editor, Eric Gelhaus, editor of AmericanCop.com, Tom McHale from American Handgunner, and of course, I, your humble servant, the editor of Guns Magazine, Brent Wheat, wishing you a good week. Stay warm. Try to not catch on fire if you're on the West Coast. And thoughts go out to all our friends. I did mention, I didn't tell you guys, I just got an email from one of our longtime writers, Clayton Walker. Clayton lost everything. So going to have to look some more at that. So it is affecting us. One of our other writers called me, Peyton Miller. He lives out in that area. It burned right up to his backyard, and but their house survived. So they're doing good. But Clayton and a lot of other folks have lost everything. So we'll try and investigate and see how we can help him out here in the future. So anyway, hopefully everybody will have a great week. We'll see you next time on The Gun Cranks.